painting a wall.
A fence, really.
A fence. Hello and welcome to Hila at Home. Today I'm going to be giving you an early spring tour of the garden. It was a lovely sunny day and I thought I'd share with you what's up with the garden. So we're going to start off in the rhubarb patch, and that's me over there trying to control the gimbal, which is a new piece of kit that I'm coming to grips with. But this is the rhubarb patch. It looks a little bit empty right now, but by the end of summer it's going to be completely covered over. This side is south facing, so it does get a lot of sunlight, and that's where we have the kale bed, which I'm so excited because finally, after years of planning, made a proper cage to protect the kale from the birds. The onions and the garlic are doing really well. They're still covered over because we do have squirrels and pests, and the cages are going to stay on for at least another couple of months. And even though it looks quite empty, when spring comes everything just mushrooms out. So that's the orchard section that I'm showing you. Then very shortly I shall show you some of the fruit that we have growing over there. That's where we've set up a new compost bin. We're going to see how it does over there, but over the years I found that it's quite important to rethink your compost bin location if necessary. There's some more extra onion sets there that I just plonked into the ground. They were smaller, so we'll get some greens from them. This is the black currant shrub, which is budding along beautifully. It gets like these nice juicy black currants. This is the pear tree. It's also budding, and we should be getting some pear tree blossom in another few weeks or so. And it's really quite beautiful. So this is a conference pear, and around the bottom of this section we have loads of forget-me-nots. They're not yet in full bloom at the moment, but when they do, it is a beautiful carpet of blue. There's one of the rhubarbs there, looking small and manageable. By the end of summer it will be gigantic and enormous. And across over here we've also got some more onions. Actually no, these are shallots. And next to them is some raspberry canes that need to be dug up. And I've got some perennial flowers hanging about there. We have a new feature. Well, it's not a new feature, it's an old feature that we moved from another part of the garden, and it's a trellis. And I transplanted this climbing rose bush last season, and the idea is that the rose bush is going to climb up all over this terrace and over that and create like an arch full of these beautiful pink double petal roses. So this was further up in our garden, and so we dug it up and then we moved it so that it creates the entryway to the back of the garden. I'm quite excited to see how this feature turns out because it will probably be about 2 years before we see what it will look like. This is the plum tree. We have a Victoria plum tree. This year we're expecting a bumper harvest because we did prune it back severely 2 seasons ago, and it normally takes at least 1 season for it to come back to normal. And this is the Bramley apple tree, which is the cooking apples that we use for making cider and mince pies and apple pies. And then we've got another black currant bush. We used to have red currants, but nobody liked them. That's an apple tree that I pointed to over there. Now this is why I wanted to do the garden tour. I love this bush. It's the forsythia, and it generally blooms with this beautiful vibrant yellow around February or March, depending on how warm it is. We've had to cut it back severely this year because it had become overgrown, so it is nice and beautifully yellow, and I love that color so much. And we have a bay tree over here because bay leaves are great for making beef stew. And that's my little chive section. So chives are really nice and great for beginners because they're so easy. You just plant them once and they'll just keep on popping up by themselves once they're established. I have some hellebore over here in white. So this is the only white hellebore that I have in the garden. This rockery section area is part of my long-term gardening plan because it is just a mess over there. But we are nearly done now. Well, rather my husband, when I say we, I mean the royal we, nearly done with the garden wall. So this has been a long-term project that's taken us nearly a year. And we have loads of bulbs planted in that section. So it's just going to be overflowing with loads and loads of flowers. I think a gardener's work is never done. So this is the second forsythia, which, oh, it is such a joy to just be there and look at it when it is in full bloom. So the nice thing about forsythia is when it's in full bloom, there's no green leaves or anything like that. It's literally just the pure yellow. I need to work on this section because I forgot to cut back the hydrangea, but we'll go back up the stairs, which were recently finished, and I'll show you the other section of the garden. So we have a big grassy area, and we have this lovely tree, and I don't know what it is. I still have to investigate what the name of this tree is. It was there when we moved into the house years ago. And then we've got a pieris, and it's so beautiful when the flowers come out like this. The leaves are going to turn red to make the bush look like it's on fire, but it is a beautiful evergreen bush. It provides much needed color even in winter. We just mowed the grass, so it looks quite nice and neat. And over here is the camellia, which we're waiting to bloom. And when it blooms, it's got these beautiful bright fuchsia flowers. A few of them have already started blooming and falling onto the grass, and you can see how they are there. But when it is in full bloom, it's nice because it looks like a big pink Lego brick, because we've shaped it into a rectangular topiary. And that's the patio area over there, and there's the pond, and there's the grass. So walking up to the steps is another area that needs some work, but it currently has got the grape hyacinth, and I placed them there because they're by the main door, so they send out their beautiful hyacinth fragrance through the doorway each time it's opened. And I also have some spring flowering bulbs here, but this is an area that I basically need to start afresh, so it is on my midterm gardening goals. It's something that I need to fix. Got some optimistic compost sitting over there, and planters waiting for the time for me to plant that. And there's the pond there that needs to be fixed. We've had a few issues with the waterfall, so some work. And walking over to the greenhouse and checking in on the seedlings, which are doing really quite well. Everything is, coming along as it should be. Quite exciting. This is always such a wonderful time for gardeners. Another gardening project is to sort out the greenhouse. We have a grapevine over here. It always produces sour grapes. They look nice, but they don't taste nice. There just isn't enough sunlight here in Yorkshire. And I also have a white camellia bush, and this is on the west side of the house. That's it. It's on the west side of the house, and it makes these really beautiful white flowers, which looks so wonderful against the glossy deep green leaves of the camellia bush, and is one of my favorites. So we placed this on the west side of the house so that I can look at it whilst I'm actually cooking. So the kitchen windows, they look out into this section of the garden. So I have been trying for years to create an alpine garden in an old Belfast sink, and I still haven't managed it. This is the kids' mining pit. They love to dig up in this mound over here. They get really muddy, but you gotta let children be, so that's where they do the digging. I have a big barrel here of these deep purple tulips, and they're so amazing to look at. I'm hoping that they'll do a good showing this year. Over on this side of the house, because it's south facing and it does get a lot of sun, we've got the blueberries over there. And this is also on the to-do list for the garden, but we've got a few pink hyacinths. And the idea is that this area, we're going to have to dig everything up on it and just start afresh. And we have this gigantic ivy and some composting bins as well that are in the sun, because we're big fans of composting. And we get a lot of birds in that ivy. My other favorite feature on this section of the garden is the bamboo that we have. It's just so beautiful in the wind, the way that it sways and all. And then we've got some daffodils. So we have a lot of patches of daffodils just sort of hanging about everywhere, and they're just beautiful pops of yellow. And I love spring. I really love spring for that, and for the daffodils and what they bring to the season. Over here I'm trying to show you the elderflower tree, which we use the flowers to make elderflower champagne. And we have a big chestnut tree over there, which is just about getting ready to bloom. And it literally, the buds, once they open up overnight, it just goes boom. It's such a wonderful sight to behold. Along the other side of the house, I have some green hellebore, which is a very fascinating plant. I can just stand there and spend hours looking at it because the petals are light green and it's really beautiful. I also have to do work on this section of the garden, but hey, a gardener's work is never done. And these are some of the rose bushes that I have, and they're coming along beautifully. That one is a deep velvety red one. And we also have some lovely bulbs coming through, the lilac colors. And I just get really excited when all of this color begins to come through. And here's a new rose bush over there that I bought from Costco. It's called Mum in a Million, so I'm hoping that it's going to do quite well. Thank you so much for joining us in a tour of the garden today at Hila at Home. If you haven't already, do subscribe. We're a lifestyle channel, so you do get a lot of random interesting things that turn up on your feed. And until I see you next time, take care. Bye.